Swimming pools and residential real estate have a long and sordid history together. So, what I'm talking about in this case, when I say swimming pools, is in ground pools, not above ground pools. And the in ground pools that I'm talking about are primarily going to be made of gunite, which is a concrete um, variant, or the in-ground pools that sometimes have the fiberglass-like inserts that could be put into the ground as well. For context, when I talk about residential real estate, I'm talking about the affluent western suburbs of Chicago and how the presence or lack of a pool impacts the valuation and marketability of those properties. Let's talk about the history for a second. Before COVID, pools were definitely considered a liability. It was a case where if someone were to contact an agent, a real estate agent, about marketing a property, in most cases, before the marketing would take place, they would talk about removal of a pool. In fact, there was a company called Pool Busters, which at the time would charge between $10,000 and $15,000 and would scoop out the pool, and then you would actually have to have your landscaper come and deal with the landscaping that would remain in place. Since COVID, pools have become an asset. In fact, if you talk to the prominent pool installation companies in the western suburbs, they would tell you that there's a waiting list for these pools now. The reason that pools had been a liability previously were that the initial cost was very high. The season was short. There were costs associated with maintenance. There were costs associated with increased insurance premiums and increase in real estate taxes as well. These days, that's not significant anymore because people just, they want pools. And typically when you see pools, like this, it isn't just the pool. I mean, the pool itself is easily a $150,000 install. Plus, you're looking at all the decking material. Do you want a diving board? Do you want a built-in spa in the pool? Do you want a pool house? So in many cases, when you're talking about a pool in the western suburbs, it starts at $150,000 and can easily end up in excess of $500,000, depending on what you do. If you have a pool, you have to cover it. There are different types of covers. There are seasonal summer covers, some of which are manual and really quite laborious. The kind you want are the automated summer covers, and you can see here how easy that is. And when these are fully covered, you can easily walk across it, and it could support a weight of a full-size adult or two. During the winter months, you have to put on a winter cover, and in most cases, when you see a winter cover, usually you see metal grommets on the ground, like in this area here, where you could put spring-loaded covers to support the weight of the ice and snow that may be sitting on the top of the pool all winter long. One of the other trends that's developing right now in pools is that some owners aren't seasonally covering their pools or winterizing their pools. They're letting them stay open all year round. And sure, the energy costs of doing so are high, but it's usually lower than the cost of having your pool company come in and winterize the pool. Yeah, I'm saying that people leave the pools open all year round in the Chicago market. Not everyone, and you need to definitely check with your pool expert to make sure that your pool is designed for that, but it's clearly an option. You don't need to close the pool. One of the other benefits of having the pool open during the winter is that if you are lucky enough to have a built-in tub like this one has, it can be usable during the winter months as well. When a pool is designed, a proper design includes places to keep your pool equipment. That would include all your recreational toys, as well as your heater, your filter, and that sort of stuff. This is an outrageously good example of a well-designed pool because nowhere do you see or hear any of the pool equipment.
Does a pool add value to a house? Well, the first thing I want to tell you is forget what these magazines say. Occasionally you'll see these articles that'll have some ridiculous number like a pool adds 30 or 40% of the cost to value, and that's an absolute ridiculous proposition for the following reasons. Number one, how do they know what your cost is? I mean, if one person A is a better negotiator than person B, then that cost number would be different. Secondly, the contributory value of a pool to a house is dictated by market and price range. For example, if you have a $250,000 pool and you have a $300,000 house, the contributory value of that pool is going to be minimal or may even be negligible because the cost of maintenance would offset the balance of the recreational benefit. So it's dictated by market and price range. The most concise statement that I can provide regarding the relationship to pools and valuation is a pool can sometimes provide value depending on price range. In all cases, it's going to be a fraction of what the actual cost of the pool is. So when you're considering the installation of a pool at your house, do so for reasons other than resale, because it's just not there. The best time to sell a house with a pool is during pool season. So if you have the luxury of timing it, it really makes sense to be one of the first people that your pool company can open for the season, get the pool area staged just like the rest of the house, get the photography and videography done, and start marketing that house ASAP in the spring. You will definitely generate the highest return for the house in shortest amount of time by doing so. If you want to go ahead and buy a house that has a pool, you need to approach the process a little bit differently because a pool is such a specialized, valuable, and unique portion of the house. When you buy a house, you're definitely going to have a general home inspection, do a battery of inspections for the house. You need to get a separate inspector to inspect the pool. Now, there are third-party inspection companies who do nothing but inspect pools. Check the qualifications of those folks. If you can't find or don't like one of those types of inspections, you can find someone who provides maintenance for pools to do an inspection for you. You're going to want to find out what the pool is made of. Is it a fiberglass insert? Is it a gunite pool? How old is the pool? How old is the equipment? You want to find out who maintained the pool. And generally there's two types of maintenance. There's the daily or weekly maintenance, which includes chemicals, which includes cleaning. And then there's the opening and closing of the pool at the beginning of the end of the season. If there's documentation regarding those items, it would be good to know that. Also, municipalities require building permits for pools. Check to see if the pool in the house that you want to buy is a non-permitted improvement. It would be very difficult to install a pool without getting caught because it's so visible, and because it takes so long to build a pool, it's unlikely that someone is going to do so without a permit, but you want to check. You also want to check if you have an existing pool in the house you want to buy, if that pool can currently be reinstalled if you choose to replace the pool. You definitely want to check that at the HOA level as well. These days, there are so many changes and pressures on HOAs that the changes in their strictness of the rules is increasing exponentially almost by a monthly basis. It makes a lot of sense to check with your homeowner's insurance company as well. First off, do they insure houses with pools? If they do, find out if they insure houses with the type of pool that you have, and find out how much the cost of that increase is going to be. You may want to check with the local assessor's office as well to see if the valuation of the pool is baked into the valuation of the house, or if it's a separate entity, and if that valuation is accurate. If it's inaccurate and if it's too high, it is going to be impacting the cost of your ownership significantly by the way of increased real estate tax liability as well. If you want to have access to an in-ground pool and you don't want to have one installed in your yard, or you don't want to buy a house that has an existing one, you can always go to a private club, or in Hinsdale, for example, you can go the public pool option. For example, for less than $1,000 for the whole season, you can have a family membership at the Hinsdale pool and pay for an additional super pass to have access to the Clarendon Hills pool as well, because over time, a lot of the kids like the curly slide at the Clarendon Hills pool better than the Hinsdale pool. But more importantly, if there happened to be an event going on at the Hinsdale pool which would prohibit your ability to go swimming there, as an alternate, you can go to the Clarendon Hills pool with the super pass. My name is Bryan Bomba. I'm with At Properties in Hinsdale, Illinois.